Hello everyone and welcome to our educational session. My name is Paul Arsov and I'm the founder of the Decentralized Web project. I'm going to talk about this and several other projects that we're working on in the end of this presentation. But the topic today is present-day state of US currency and governance. It is part one presentation and it touches on politics and specifically politics in the United States. So we are going to start first with some recent event. On a crisp morning in March 2025, as President Trump's sweeping tariffs reverberated through global markets, Treasury officials continued their routine work of auctioning billions of government debt. Foreign buyers participated as they always have, but with a pronounced shift in their bidding patterns that even casual market observers noticed. The ritual continued. America borrowed, the world did lending, even as the government unilaterally imposed economic barriers through emergency powers that circumvented constitutional separations of power. America's most dangerous contradictions is a currency that commands global fate despite being issued by a government that increasingly operates beyond traditional constitutional constraints. This moment encapsulates America's most dangerous contradiction, a currency that commands global fate. We stand before a fractured mirror, refusing to recognize that the face of governance reflected there, unilateral tariffs imposed without congressional approval, emergency powers stretched beyond recognition, constitutional guardrails bypassed, bears little resemblance to the idealized image that justifies the US currency privileged position. The dollar, a mere symbol imprinted on cotton and linen, maintains its power through a shared fiction that America's governmental competence, institutional stability, and long-term economic prudence stand behind it. Yet, increasingly, that fiction strains against a reality of partisan gridlock, institutional deterioration, and toxic short-termism. When fiction and reality diverge too dramatically, the markets don't issue manifestos. Then they send signals through basis points, capital flows, and hedging strategies that ultimately translate into tangible consequences for ordinary citizens. This presentation examines America's currency governance contradiction through a dual lenses of psychological development and systemic evolution, focusing on the radical transformation under Trump's second administration in 2025 and 2026. It reveals how the current application of emergency powers to impose sweeping tariffs demonstrates classic traits of narcissism, Machiavellism, and psychopathic detachment. The dark triad of personality traits, while simultaneously struggling to evolve beyond simplistic power dynamics toward more integrated systemic understanding. The consequences of failing this developmental challenge extend far beyond economics, threatening America's position in the world, the constitutional separation of powers, and the welfare of the citizens amid rising global trade tensions. So this motto of the current administration that America is different, the rules don't apply to us. This sentiment, rarely stated so explicitly, but now embodied in the President Trump's 2025 and 2026 tariffs regime, underlines the administration's approach to both trade and monetary policy. Trump's declaration that trade wars are good and easy to win has evolved from campaign rhetoric to government philosophy, with the 10% baseline tariffs on nearly all global imports serving as its implementation. This wasn't just tactical bravado, it revealed a narcissistic core beliefs system. America exceptionalism extends beyond its currency to a unilateral rewriting of global trade rules. Institutional narcissism manifests its in grandiose self-imagery divorced from reality testing. The United States prints the world reserve currency while imposing sweeping tariffs that would trigger immediate retaliation against any other nation. When questioned about the economic contradictions of these policies, American administration's officials typically respond with exceptional nation narratives rather than substantive economic arguments. This reality distortion, maintaining grandiose self-image despite contrary evidence, represents classic narcissistic function. Consider how this played out in the spring of 2025. Even as the 54% tariff on Chinese goods triggered market turbulence and retaliation, administration officials maintained that US Treasuries remained risk-free investment. This reality distortion, maintaining grandiose self-image despite contrary evidence, represents classic narcissistic function. The government simultaneously destabilized global trade while insisting that such action carried no risk to currency stability because of the America's specialness. The psychological cost of this narcissism is vulnerability through denial. By invoking the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to bypass constitutional provisions that explicitly grant Congress power over tariffs, this Article 1, Section 8, the administration has positioned necessary institutional reform through a constitutional violation. Each instance of executive overreach increases system fragility, as reality does not incidentally accommodate narcissistic delusions of unlimited presidential authority, not even American ones. Former Fed Reserve Chairman Paul Volcker understood this interconnection when he observed the growing imbalances of the US economy, particularly in the substantial trade deficit and the related budget deficit threatened the dollar's position. And this observation was done back in the 1987. The narcissistic pattern that since intensified, culminating in 2025 unprecedented use of emergency powers to unilaterally impose trade barriers while simultaneously expecting global markets to maintain faith in American debt and currency. Beneath narcissistic self-conception lies a more sophisticated pattern: strategic manipulation to maintain power advantage. The 2025 Trump administration tariff regime represents Machiavellianism applied to trade policy, deploying the term reciprocal tariffs while imposing asymmetric barriers without negotiating or due process. This continues the dollar's traditional exorbitant privilege, but adds a new dimension, attempting to redefine trade relations while expecting that currency dominance will shield America from consequences. Consider how the administration has framed the 10% baseline tariffs on all imports. While presented as addressing unfair trade practices, these tariffs bypass the statutory process followed even during Trump's first term, when actions were taken under Trade Act of 1974. The invocation of Emergency Power Act to declare trade deficits as a national emergency represents a strategic exploitation of statutory language, never intended for commercial policy, Machiavellian manipulation of legal frameworks to achieve ends that authors never intended. More overtly, the differential tariff rates, 54% on China, lower rates on strategic allies, reveal strategic manipulation rather than consistent principle. The administration has effectively weaponized market access, much as previous administration weaponized dollar access through sanctions. When Canada and Mexico faced 2025% tariffs on non-USMCA goods, despite being treaty partners, it signaled that even former agreements provide limited protection against unilateral action, a powerful layer of influence that prioritizes leverage over consistency. Yet Machiavellian strategies inevitably generate counter strategies, as trading partners from Europe to Asia have demonstrated through their retaliatory tariffs in spring 2025 affected parties aren't blind to manipulation. They may comply while simultaneously working to reduce vulnerability. Um, exactly the patterns we now see are accelerating in the dollarization initiatives from Brazil to China to Saudi Arabia. The yuan-denominated oil contracts, BRICS currently coordination efforts, and central bank digital currency projects have gained momentum precisely because the administration tariffs actions have confirmed what many suspected. American economic policies are increasingly unpredictable and unilateral. As Machiavelli himself might have predicted, the manipulated eventually seek to escape the manipulator controls, and the tariffs regime has accelerated this search for alternatives. Perhaps most troubling in America's 2025 and 2026 monetary governance contradiction is the psychopathic detachment. The empathy void between policy decisions and citizen consequences. Institutional psychopathy manifests not as individual cruelty, but as systems that structurally disconnect actions from their human impact in the US. This detachment appears starkly in the tariffs implementation process itself. By bypassing the due process safeguards typically required for trade actions, public hearings, agency investigations, congressional oversights, the administration has short-circuited the very mechanisms designed to access and assess citizen impacts. The use of emergency power acts for tariffs represents a government's approach with psychopathic characteristics, achieving immediate goals while remaining indifferent to both procedural norms and human impact consequences. When Commerce Secretary James Blackstone told the Chamber of Commerce in April 2025 that short-term pain for American consumers is necessary for long-term gain, he articulated precisely this psychopathic disconnect. The dismissal of immediate hardships coupled with vague promises of future benefits, despite overwhelming economic evidence that tariffs reduce overall welfare, reveals this empathy gap in systemic proportions. The constitutional implications intensify this detachment. The Supreme Court major questions doctrine requires clear congressional authorization for policies of vast economic significance. Authorization of International Emergency Power Act clearly lacks for tariffs. Yet the administration has proceeded regardless, reflecting institutional indifference to constitutional limits designed to ensure democratic accountability. The citizen consequences of this detachment are profound. When Fortune 500 companies began announcing manufacturing postponement in response to supply chain uncertainties in May 2025, the resulting job losses weren't abstract statistics but family tragedies. When consumer prices for everyday goods increased following the baseline 10% tariffs implementation, the reduced purchasing power wasn't theoretical but manifested in grocery checkouts and gas pumps for ordinary Americans, while policymakers who authorized these measures remained insulated from these effects. The as economists like Joseph Stiglitz noted in their 2025 analysis, the administration's tariffs policy represents a regressive tax that disproportionately burdens lower-income Americans while simultaneously threatening the international economic arrangements that has supported dollar stability. The human costs, price increases, job insecurity, retirement fund turbulence are externalized consequences disconnected from the decision makers who prioritized political signaling over citizen welfare. And with this, I'm ending part one of this presentation. Stay tuned for the next week part two presentation, which is going to finish this topic. But I'm coming back to the beginning of this presentation when I told you that my name is Paul Arsov and I'm the founder of the Decentralized Web project and several other projects. But first, the Decentralized Web project built a decentralized communication advertising platform. As I just said, the project is monetized through advertising, and it has its own blockchain instance which generates tokens, and these tokens rewards people who come to our platform to become new users on this platform, and they're rewarded with tokens. Users on our platform are also rewarded for inviting other people to become new users on our platform, and the new users are rewarded with tokens, and the users who invited people are rewarded with tokens as well for inviting people to become users. But the specific implementation in decentralization in our decentralized web project is different than the meaning which blockchain technology puts on decentralization. Like in our implementation of decentralization, we implement it as a way to do direct communication from user to user without going through a third party, namely web server or a place which allows collection of information from users and then distributing this information back. In our implementation, once again, we do direct communication from user to user without going through a third point, namely a server or a collection point. With this said, I like to also mention that the way of communication is direct, while the blockchain technology has multiple and fundamental flaws which prevent it from being driver in decentralization. With this said, I like to tell you the name and the URL of our decentralized web project is this decentralizedweb.org. Decentralized and web, these are two words, and they're typed all together. Then there is dot and it ends with org. Once again, decentralizedweb.org. With this said, I'm going to the second project I like to mention that we released, and this project has a marketplace and collection of non-fungible tokens or NFTs based on three-dimensional objects. With three-dimensional objects, there has to be a special software which is reading and then displaying the 3D object on the computer screen. And traditionally, the creators of 3D objects, they did use commercial software like there are two very popular choices. One of them is a game engine called Unity, and the other one is called a game engine called Unreal. But from the very beginning in our project, we decided to build our own 3D software engine. And what it does is it reads the file of the 3D NFT object, then it opens a window on the computer screen, then it displays the 3D NFT object, and then it starts animating the 3D NFT in a way of moving it in a random fashion around the window it did open. But in addition to these initial and basic capabilities, our 3D NFT software engine has multiple additional capabilities. The first additional capability is the capability of speaking. Our 3D NFTs can speak in one of three different voices: a male voice, a female voice, or a whisper kind of a voice. In addition to the three basic voices, there are three different flavors of voices. A voice can be spoken either in a normal speed or in fast speed or in a slow speed fashion. In addition to these basic capabilities, the 3D NFTs can has the second and important capability, which is the voice recognition. If you have a 3D NFT which is animated around the window, you can issue your very first voice command to this 3D NFT to stop moving. And then the 3D NFT is going to stand still and stop moving. You can issue following voice commands to the 3D NFTs to move left, move right, move up, move down, zoom in, zoom out, rotate. And then the 3D NFT is going to fulfill each one of these separate voice commands. The next additional and important capability of our 3D software engine is the capability of them having a basic artificial intelligence. You can ask the 3D NFT, what is your name? And then the 3D NFT is going to reply with their name. You can ask the 3D NFT, who are you? And then the 3D NFT is going to reply in few sentences of who they are. You can ask the 3D NFT to describe something. For example, describe Web3, or describe decentralization, or describe Russia. The last additional but not least important capability of our 3D NFTs is the capability of them being displayed in a way of stereoscopics. What stereoscopics means is that part of the 3D NFT is going to be displayed in red or reddish colors, and another part of the 3D NFT is going to be displayed in blue or cyan colors. Then you can come to our 3D NFT marketplace, and now is the time to tell you the name and the URL of the website of this project. It is 3dnft.decentralizedweb.org. 3dnft is typed in a way of the number 3 followed by the letter D followed by 3 other letters N, F, and T. And it is typed all together 3DNFT. Then there is dot, then there are two words, decentralized and web, typed all together. Then there is dot and it ends with org. Once again, 3dnft.decentralizedweb.org. On the top of the main page and every other page, you can see a number of links. One of these links point to links to accessories, and when you click on this link, you're going to see that we're offering special glasses, and when you click and order one pair of these glasses, you're going to see that one lens of these glasses is red and the other lens of these glasses is blue cyan. Then you can put these glasses on. You can request displaying of the 3D NFT in a way of stereoscopics, and you're going to see the 3D NFT as coming out of the flat two-dimensional computer screen, and you're going to see it in real 3 dimensions. With this said, I like to tell you a little bit about our 3D NFT marketplace. And in our 3D NFT marketplace, we have our own blockchain instance which runs Ethereum software, and it is the same software which runs on Ethereum mainnet. It runs on Avalanche AVAX chain, it runs on Polygon Matic chain, and it runs on many other famous and not so famous blockchains in existence. With this said, I like to tell you that by having our own blockchain instance, then we allow our users to buy and receive proceedings from sale in multiple crypto coins, and currently the choice of crypto coins include Solana Sol, Polygon Matic, Avalanche AVAX, and KuCoin, which is a big centralized crypto exchange. They have a coin called KCS. But in addition to buying and receiving proceedings from sale in crypto, we have second parallel and independent way of buying and selling 3D NFTs, and it is done entirely in fiat currency. I can give an example. For example, if you come to our 3D NFT marketplace, you browse through the collections of 3D NFTs, you click on one that you want to purchase, and then you're going to present it with the drop-down menu, which is asking you to select between 4 different crypto coins and a fifth choice of paying with fiat currency. So let's say you select payment with fiat currency, you click on the button to advance next, and then you're going to present it with a screen where you have to put the number of your debit or credit card, expiration date, CVC, and when you click on the button to make the payment and complete the transaction, what is going to happen is there is going to be a transfer and conversion from your national fiat currency, which could be different from US dollars, and your payment is going to be converted to US dollars and deposited in our bank account. Then we are going to make a transaction and transfer of the initial ownership from our 3D NFT marketplace to you, and now you become owner of this 3D NFT. You can play with this 3D NFT for a while, and then at some point you can decide to put this 3D NFT for sale. You decide on the price that you want to put this 3D NFT for sale, and then let's say this second user who comes to our 3D NFT marketplace, they go through the collection of the 3D NFTs, and they click on your particular 3D NFT that you put for sale. So the second user is going to go through the same choices of choosing to pay with crypto or with fiat currency. So let's say they select payment with fiat currency, then they click on the button to advance next, and they put their number of debit or credit card, expiration date, and CVC. And when they click to complete the transaction and make the payment, then there is going to be a conversion from their national fiat currency, which could be different from US dollars, and the payment is going to be converted to US dollars and deposited in our bank account. Then we are going to make a transaction and transfer of ownership from you to the second user, and now the second user becomes owner of this 3D NFT. Then we are going to make a third action and transfer from our 3D NFT marketplace to you, and now you become the owner of this 3D NFT. And then we are going to also make a transaction and transfer and conversion from US dollars to your national fiat currency, and you are going to receive the payment for this 3D NFT in your national fiat currency in your bank account. With this said, I'm going to the next project that we did release, and this project did build artificial intelligence agents, and these AI agents are operating with these AI agents are operating with the in an independent way, and each one of these currently 2 AI agents, they have their own gender, their own avatar image, their own voice with which they are speaking, and their own large language model. And you, the user, is going to assign these parameters like gender, voice, voice pitch, avatar image, large language model, and initial prompt and system prompt as well to each one of these two separate AI agents. Then you can request start of this interaction, and you're going to be just an observer between the first and the second AI agent and observe how they're interacting between each other without participating, or at some point later you could be also participating in this AI to AI interaction. But with this said, I'm going to tell you the name and the URL of the website of this project. It is ai2ai.decentralizedweb.org. AI to AI is typed in a way of the letter A, followed by the letter I, followed by the number 2, followed by two other letters A and I. And it is typed all together AI to ai.decentralizedweb.org. With this set, I like to give an example of interaction between these two AI entities. And let's say the first AI entity has a female gender, female avatar that you are choosing for it, female voice and voice pitch for this AI entity. And then you you select the large language model, for example, Mistral, and then you select you put the prompt for this AI entity to be very seductive. And the system prompt is like ask questions and respond to questions. And also you can include for it to be very seductive. And let's say the second AI entity has a male avatar, male gender, male voice with which they speak, male voice pitch. And let's say you select the Llama model, large language model for this AI entity, and put the prompt to be very angry. And you can also put in the system prompt to request to answer to questions and ask questions. Then you, the user, could push the button to start this interaction, and then you're going to observe this interaction between the first and second AI entity going back and forth for a particular period of time. Then at some point you can request stop of this interaction, and at this point you have a choice to save this interaction as a transcript for your on your local machine, and you can also share the parameters of this interaction like gender, avatar, voice, pitch, language models, prompt, and system prompt as well for the first and the second AI entity. And you can share this on our website so that other users could view this interaction, and they could experience this interaction for themselves and tell other users about this interaction as well. With this set, I'm ending talking about this third project, and I like to mention two other projects that we're working on. These projects, they built one of these projects built an automation agent which you like request the start of the recording of the sequence of steps of the user, which the user is doing on their web browser or on a specific application then which they did open, and then you, the user, could then view this sequence of steps, and at the last step you could request stop of this recording of steps, and then you can put a label of these steps so that next time you call this label, then the automation agent could do the steps one by one, and at the last steps ask you to confirm and this sequence. But what this recording could be, it could be like for example, buying a specific food item from a number of grocery stores, or from specific store, and then at the last point you could confirm the payment and delivery of this food item. But also you could request like purchasing of a ticket for a concert which is going on a specific date or specific range of dates, or buying an airplane ticket from one specific or from several airlines, and going to one or more destinations from a specific range of dates which you want to travel. With this said, I am ending talking about this first project, which we did not yet build a website, and the second project that I want to mention is a project that does accounting of tokens which you are spending on with commercial providers of AI language models and AI related services. Because the AI providers, commercial AI providers, are going to be start billing by millions of tokens instead of weekly or monthly budget, which you could easily exceed. So that's why commercial AI providers, they're ending this policy of fixed amount of tokens and contracts, and going towards a specific budget or a specific payment from for millions of tokens. And with this said, I am ending talking about this second project as well. Thank you for listening. Thank you for viewing. Stay tuned for the part 2 of the presentation on America currency and governance crisis. And have a nice day, have a nice evening, and goodbye.